It's a question that's been asked more than it's been answered. How do you win the Daytona 500? This race is more than just man and machine. At Daytona, there's a secret to unlock. Now, some folks call this secret the draft, and others call it the air. But as for me, I call it the wind. And carried with that wind are the spirits of the legends and the gods of racing themselves. So, how do you win the Daytona 500? Ride the wind.
Racing, you wanted the best, you got them for abreast, often imitated, never duplicated, the greatest show on dirt, the World of Outlaws.
Live broadcast of round 2 of the Oceanic Sprint Championship, the second season of one of Australia's top GT Sprint series. We're here at a digital recreation of the Mount Panorama circuit for round 2 of the championship. My name is Reese Gardner, and joining me in the commentary box is Brock Caday. Now, Brock, this is going to be a very interesting round. Not only is it at Bathurst, the mother of all Australian circuits, not only is it a full field of GT3s, but the times have been pretty close, haven't they, in qualifying?
Yeah, it's great to be here. Thanks, Reese. And you're very correct. The times are mega close at the moment. And I'm just looking how many people we've got in the twos at the moment than the 201s. There are hopefully going to be some great battles. Hopefully the attrition rate tonight won't be too high either. We'll see some great battling. And no safety car interventions either. That'd be the way. And we can see who comes out on top at the end of tonight. Something just to note on at the moment, 2 McLarens at the top of the timesheets for tonight. So obviously the BOP update that has come through from iRacing is shaken things up a little bit with those Mercedes not up there anymore.
Yeah, certainly. We had Damien McPhee and John Peacenik doing a 1-2 in those McLarens. So yeah, very interesting. This talking point in the last couple of days with the new GT3 balance of performance adjustments. The Audi R8 LMS is the new baseline car. iRacing got some new data on it and basically retooled the car and recalibrated all of the other GT3 cars against it. So it's no longer the Mercedes Cup. Hooray, streamers and party hats. But there's still fair representation of the Mercedes out there because from third all the way back to, let's see, 8th in the qualifying standings, it's Mercedes.
Yeah, so there is still a strong Mercedes presence out there. However, we do have a couple of Ferraris in the field. The BMWs have come out fairly strong tonight. And obviously with that talk of the Audi now being the baseline car for the balanced performance, there are also a few out there in the field. So it'll be interesting tonight to see who comes out on top, what car is strongest at what part of the track, with obviously the different engine configurations and different setups that everyone will be running. Another talking point coming out of the balanced performance is the fact that all the setups need to be changed, especially that Audi one with a big change happening there. I know most of my Audi setups are now rubbish because they fail tech. So it'll be interesting to see how the guys have coped tonight and whether their cars will be able to stand up to a 45-minute race around, as you said, the mother of all racing tracks in Australia, and probably one of the more treacherous ones in the world there, Reese.
Yeah, certainly. Speaking of tracks, how about the schedule that we've got for OSC this season? We've already had round 1 at Daytona, which had a very dramatic finish, incident between Michael Healy and Trent Thomas on the final lap through the incredibly fast oval section. Of course, we are at Bathurst for round 2, narrow, twisty, up and down. But then round 3 on the 28th of February, we go to basically the complete opposite of Bathurst. We go to Silverstone, which is very wide, very flat, very flowing. Interesting to see how the GT3s go there, and the rest of the schedule. It's one hell of a schedule, really. We've got some of the world's best racetracks being represented here: Donington, Spa, Monza, Sebring, Road Atlanta, Phillip Island. To finish off the season, the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit. What a schedule!
Yeah, you're definitely right there, Reese. There are some amazing tracks on here, and good to see representation from a couple of Aussie tracks there. But always good to race on them, considering they're basically our homegrown tracks. Like you said, going from Bathurst, tight, twisty, scary as all hell, to Silverstone, open, lots of runoff, quite flowing, much more like a Formula One track as we know it is. It'll be interesting to see how these guys change their setups, change their driving style, and also change their mindset coming into that race after this one, because you've really got to have some bravery at this circuit that is Bathurst, because you've got to get as close to those walls as you can and even shave the wall a couple of times to really extract the most out of the cars.
Yes, indeed, and also in terms of racing, it's not exactly a track that lends itself to passing opportunities at every single corner. The racing at Bathurst is always very dramatic, very exciting, but you will not see overtaking happening at too many spots. I do think lap 1 is going to be particularly treacherous. Of course, Mount Panorama being a public road for most of the year and having walls very close at all times, basically a tunnel surrounded by concrete barriers. They are going to have to be extremely careful on lap 1, but there's a fair chance that this is going to be a race of attrition.
I think you're right there, Reese, and race drivers being careful. Don't see that happening tonight. So I reckon they're all going to be going out there, giving it their best shot. And as much as we'd like to see all the cars make it through that first lap, settle in, get in line and start racing hard, unfortunately, with so many cars on track, it can get a little bit messy. hopefully, though, we make it through that first lap and they can battle it out hard and the walls don't bite too hard tonight. We've seen in the recent 12-hour there was definitely a little bit of hard racing as well as some unfortunate incidents, so we can steer away from that tonight, bring on some hard racing, and we've got some, like we were saying earlier, close times that are really going to show the driving styles and the way you can throw it down the inside here at Mount Panorama. You've got turn 1 and the last turn, probably 2 prime overtaking opportunities. The chase, if you're brave enough, throw it down the inside at Forest Elbow. Otherwise, across the top of the mountain, you're going to want to be line astern or else there is going to be trouble.
Yeah, for sure. And that kind of trouble is certainly going to influence the championship standings, which we should probably take a look at the moment. Damien McPhee is the leader of the championship on 400 points, followed closely by Ross Rizzo, Adam Briggs, and Scott Larnack. And Brad Watson completing the top 5. Now, remember, this is before the balance of performance changes, so there is a fair chance that this may change. Fair chance of John Peacenik making his way up the standings if his qualifying performance is anything to go by. But Damien McPhee, polled for this round again, he is looking like he's in the box seat to consolidate this championship lead, but anything can happen.
Yeah, that's right, Reece. And just looking at those standings there, I think it's about the top 15 cars, all Mercedes. And as you've mentioned, that BOP update is hopefully going to shake that up a bit, and we'll see, John Peacenik jump up the standings a bit and see a better mix of GT3 cars. That's one of the things I love seeing in GT3s. You have so many cars and they're well represented. Seeing the Merc Cup at Daytona was almost a bit of a disappointment because it just meant that there wasn't that proper competition between all the different manufacturers to show who has the best car at the end of the night. So seeing these standings here, obviously only round 2, everything is really, really close at the moment. Still have a chance to jump back up there before the end of the season. Obviously got 9 more rounds to go. So interesting to see who can come out on top and who's going to take tonight's win and the podium spots, and what manufacturers are going to take those spots too.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the very incredible things about GT3 racing in real life is that competition between brands. Of course, the Stefan Rattel organization and FIA doing the balance of performance in real life, and you could say that it is a bit more numerous, the balance of performance adjustments, than they are in iRacing, but I suppose that is for the best in real life, because sim racing, you do have less breaks between races and a lot more races to deal with. But I'm interested to see how the cars go at the various circuits we visit during this championship. I do think the McLaren is still very much the straight line king, so look out for it at Silverstone. But the downforce cars like the Audi, like the BMW, I'd look out for them at Silverstone as well because of all of those super fast turns. The BMW has traditionally been the car with the most sort of mid-corner grip, especially in the medium to high-speed turns. But I'm all I can say is bring on the rest of the round. But the server is up at the moment, and we're just loading in now.
Excellent. Keen for this race tonight, and I reckon it's going to be an exciting one tonight to hear, Reece. And like you said, in real life, those the BOP in real life needs to be a bit more numerous and give all the cars a chance. But luckily in iRacing, we have the beauty of being able to change up our cars and everything depending on what's the fastest one to race that week. So obviously, this series though does lock your car selection, although I believe they've changed it now to end of round 3. You'll be locked with your car because of those BOP updates. They want to give you a chance to decide exactly which one you're basically stuck with in a way for the rest of the season. So we'll see how they end up going and who ended up changing their cars. But hopefully we still see these McLarens later on in the series fighting it out at the top there.
Yeah, certainly. I do think they'll have a bit more of a difficult time of it at a place like Donington, for example, which the straights there to speak of at Donington, there aren't that many of them, and they're not that long. So a track like Donington, I don't know what car that would suit. It would probably be more of a BMW track. I mean, I guess we'll properly consider that when we get to these circuits, but Yeah, this championship looks to be one hell of a championship if the first round and the way the field looks after the BOP update is anything to go by.
Yeah, I think we're in for a great ride in these next few rounds, and like you said, it's even then you were struggling to sort of think what car would suit Donington, and it's the same with each of these tracks. These drivers have to sort of bite the bullet a little bit and decide where am I going to sacrifice some speed, and where am I going to gain that back and try and blitz the field. And that's the beauty of BOP, is that you can't make all the cars completely equal, but you can try and get them as close as possible with their advantages here and there at different circuits. So be interesting to see if those McLarens can keep up the pace. They're a difficult car to get the hang of and require you to be committed with them to actually really reel them in and understand them. But once you get them, hopefully keep the knack and keep it on going through the series.
Yes, of course. A big contributor to, I think, the McLaren's success at Bathurst so far is those two incredibly long straights, Mountain and Conrod. But that middle section of the lap, they go up the hill and back down again through a series of magnificent airspins. Look out for the Mercedes, look out for the Audis and Ferraris as well. And those BMWs, well, they'll certainly be in there with a shout as well. Well, currently in the server, no one has set a lap in the 10-minute practice session leading up to this 45-minute race. We've got cars rolling around the circuit now, and drivers just getting used to the weather.
Yeah, well, all these drivers, they're probably a bit geared towards the 12-hour, considering what a lot of Australia, New Zealand and other international drivers were doing over the last weekend. So the weather in that race is actually a bit hotter than what this has been in practice and qualifying. So I'm still loading into the server now, but I'm sure it's going to be a little bit cooler, which means there's more grip, but that also means that you've got to be aware that the car wants to grip up more and you can't push it too hard, or else, as you were saying before, it's like a tunnel through here, and either side, big concrete walls that are going to knock you straight out of the race. And with iRacing's damage model, it can be a little bit fickle at the best of times. So you've just got to be careful around here and hope you make it to the end with a 90 to 95% clean car.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, for people looking for updates on the weather here, it is constant weather, mostly cloudy. 18-degree air temperature and afternoon conditions, which results in a 25 degrees Celsius track temperature. The winds are northerly at 11 kilometers an hour, 0% humidity, and 95 kilopascals and rising. So some very nice weather here at the moment will result in some nicely handling machines. And as practice comes to an end, we're just looking at many drivers just testing the limits of what they can do in this weather, just seeing how close they can get it to the walls. There's no better time than now to find out just before the race.
Yeah, a few guys pushing hard out of the S's there, really trying to get a handle on whether the car's going to push out too much. Saw a couple of guys get it a little bit loose, but now's the time to do it. You don't want to have to try it out in the race and then put it in the wall. So yeah, they may look a little bit wild and woolly, but hopefully they've got it all sorted for the race. And as everyone, here we go. We've just got our first lap time at 2:01.195 by Anthony Winkleman.
Yes, indeed, Winkleman. I'm sort of used to seeing him in a Mercedes from last season, sorry. Well, last year as well. But he is in an Audi for this round at Bathurst, which I find quite interesting. So I'm interested to see what the Trick Sim Sports driver can do here. Damien McPhee stamps his authority, though, once again in the dying minutes of the session, a 2-minute .468. We saw McPhee and Peasneck both get into the 159s in qualifying, 159.6 from both of them going 1-2. So we can expect the times to be a little bit slower here as they do some race running, but still some fantastic pace from these guys.
Yeah, they're flying at the moment, and it's going to be these guys up the front that are really going to put in the hard yards and probably have that battle with them for the podium. But you never know, with strategy and, like you said, that attrition rate, it may well lead to another maybe unforeseen person up on those top 3 steps, fighting for those most valuable points. Sorry, that you can only get in these next 9 rounds.
Yes, indeed. It's not exactly the longest championship, OSC, but in terms of rounds at least, but it's no less competitive. I actually find that these shorter championships, they really tend to keep the excitement up throughout the whole season. John Peacenik going second once again in that McLaren. He's just pulled off and escaped to the garage. Luis Polo Gallon in the Mercedes doing a 2-minute .985. So we got 3 drivers in the 2 minutes as we enter 35 seconds to go in this session.
Quick little thing here, Bernie. Not Bernie, sorry, Reese, my mistake. I've just seen here Ross Rizzo is actually in a Mercedes under the Trick Sim Sports banner, whereas his teammate in Anthony Winkleman is in the Audi. So I'm not too sure what's going on there. You'd think if they're in the same team, they might try to use the same cars, work together and everything, but right now, Winkleman is up in 3rd place, and Rizzo is about 2 tenths behind him in 5th. So I'll be interested to see how these guys work out, and whether they maybe work together as a team, or whether they're just going to go at it like old-fashioned rivals as they were last year or last season.
Yeah, that is an interesting point you make there, Brock. I would posit that maybe they are both taking different cars just to see which one is the quickest, and then maybe they'll both switch to the same car after round 3. That is a possibility, but we are in the race session now, waiting for the drivers to grid up. So we'll go through the grid here. Damien McPhee on pole with John Peacenik in 2nd. Luis Paulo Gallon in 3rd place with Reese Gasol in 4th place. Gary Hamilton in 5th. Thomas McMillan in 6th. Ross Rizzo, Trick Sim Sports' newest signing, in 7th place. Fusion Sim Racing's Craig Edwards is the top Ferrari in 8th place. Troy Maguire in 9th. Rounding out the top 10, Brad D. Watson.
And in 11th place, we've got Anthony Winkleman. 12th place is Cameron Dance. 13th place is Trent Thomas. 14th place, we've got Adam Briggs. 15th is Leighton Fine. 16th is Michael Healy. 17th is Tyler Blackburn. 18th is Philip Worley. 19th is one of All-Star Motorsports' newest signings, Thomas Hinz. And in 20th, we have Michael Hammond.
Shannon Mason lines up 21st with Daniel Benefield in 22nd. Corey Ott in 23rd position with Liam Burns in 24th. Jacob Schooley in 25th. 26th place taken up by Griffin Gardner as the cars pull off from their lineup on the back straight. Benjamin Smith in 27th. Joshua Skin 28th. 29th, Dean Ross. Wayne G. Hewitt in 30th. Ryan Kolstad and Isaac Edwards round out the field. I believe Ryan Kolstad is the race admin. I'm not sure if he is taken to the grid. So it looks like Edwards hasn't taken to the grid either. So Wayne Hewitt is your last car.
So we've got a field of 30 in here, Reese, and they're looking ripe and ready to race as the safety car has peeled off. And I think we are a go here as McPhee has taken off just before the last corner there, I think. Yeah, and he is out of there. So he has gotten a mega start there and pulled right away. And John Peacenik has actually been swallowed up there by Luis Paulo Gallon.
Yeah, he has. Peacenik was caught sleeping there as they come into turn 1 for the first time. Ooh, Thomas McMillan almost overshooting turn 1. It looks like the field has gotten through the first turn cleanly, but it'll be here at Griffin's Bend where we really begin to see just how tight this circuit can be. Reese Gasol and Gary Hamilton battling going into Griffin's. It looks like Gasol had to yield to Hamilton there. And we got a car wide at Griffin's Bend. That's Anthony Winkleman, so he's lost a few places. Not optimal for him. But as they come through the cutting for the first time, looks like Peacenik and Gallon have started to reel McPhee back in.
Yeah, McPhee got that good start out there, but Peacenik, he's got a good lot of speed under him, and he's going to be fighting hard to bring him back in. Not going to like that he got caught sleeping there too, so he's hung on to the back of Gallon, and he'd be fighting hard to stay there. They've actually pulled a bit of a gap on 4th place there as well, so they're, like we were saying earlier, those guys up in the sort of 2-minute 1:59 qualifying, they are going to be absolutely flying. looks like the rest of the field has actually gotten into a fairly nice line down into the S's, so it's not too chaotic at the moment.
Yeah, that's very good to see. Well, as they come down into Forest Elbow, we'll see how well that keeps up. Looks like they're just all getting through their single file. No silly moves being made, which is really good to see. I think that's a damn sight of an improvement over some of the racing that we saw in the Bathurst 12-hour earlier this month. Troy Maguire and Thomas McMillan going into the chase. Looks like they're having a very nice battle there. But all in all, as McPhee comes up to Murray's for the first time, a very clean lap one.
I'm a bit surprised here, Reese, because I was expecting a little bit of carnage, but great to see that they've all made it through there. They put on their thinking caps, and everyone's made it through clean, which is great to see, and always a great start to the race. It looked like there may have been a few bits of contact here and there, but otherwise, yeah, mostly clean. So that's great to see as we start lap 2 here. And we've got about 40 minutes left in this race, so we'll keep on going through, and looks like, yeah, everyone's made it cleanly through turn 1, taking it easy, hedging their bets, seeing who's got the speed and who hasn't, and where they're going to end up. As I think McPhee's actually pulled away from Gallen again, got a good gap on him actually. It's gone up to about a second and a half here.
Yes, indeed. Oh, we've got a bit of an incident almost. Thomas Hens versus Philip Worley. Oh no, we're hearing Troy Maguire. Bit of a problem. He's around at the cutting, so that's going to play havoc on people trying to go too wide into there. Not that you would. Replay on screen of what happened to Troy Maguire. Let's see what brought him into that position. Looks to me like just simple rear end loss under brakes.
Yeah, that was a pretty violent one there. Yeah, like I said, rear end loss under brakes, and he just swung it around in there, tried to save it. Kudos to him for giving it a red hot shot, but unfortunately these GT cars, they don't like to be saved from a big lose like that. So unfortunate to see, but he's continuing on by the looks of it, so hopefully it's not too bad for him and he'll try and make it to the end of the race with some points.
Yes, also good to see that he was able to get it out in time to not cause a safety car, because we don't really need a safety car right now. The field is still very, very close. Having a look up the front, though, John Peacenik is really pressuring the back of Lewis Gallon at the moment.
Yeah, he wants to get by. I'm thinking a bit of the red mist has descended here. You never like being overtaken before the first lap has even started. So I think he wants to show what this McLaren's capable of, and we know, we've seen Gallon in other series, it's a very capable steerer as well. So these guys, I reckon they're going to be going at it like it's a 5-minute sprint to the finish, not a 40-minute, a 45-minute race. So it'll be interesting to see, and like you said, he's right in there, he's in the draft, but this battling and this back and forth between Gallon and Peacenik is just going to allow McPhee to skip away up the track, have an easy race, and keep going, provided he doesn't make any mistakes.
Yeah, indeed it is. And, you know, this is the problem that Peacenik faces, because the McLaren is not as good over the top as the Mercedes is. The Mercedes is still very much a straight-line speed car, but it is better than the McLaren where it counts in these corners. So Peacenik is really having to muscle his way through there. As we look at Anthony Winkleman, who is currently pressuring the back of Craig Edwards in the Amazon Web Services Ferrari. Just in front of them, Adam Briggs in the Mercedes. Now, if they come down through the S's, this is... Whoa, hold on a minute.
Was that...
That's Brad Watson. So what on earth happened there? That's a very awkward place for him to be... Oh, he just lost it over the curb.
That's similar to the Audi incident in the last year's Bathurst 12-hour where he lost it there in the morning stint. So luckily it looks like everyone's made it through there in one piece, which is good.
Watson, though, is in the garage, and I would presume out of the race, which is a real shame for him. So after that little fright those guys have gotten, it looks like Winkleman is now facing pressure from Cameron Dance, another Audi competitor. And Edwards, have a look at Edwards up ahead, just having a look around the outside of Briggs, and he's going to try and go for the over-under, but he's just not able to get the power down. Despite those BOP changes, the Mercedes off the Apex is still far and away one of the best cars to have. Briggs, though, runs a bit wide in Hell Corner. That's allowed Edwards to have a little bit of a look in here coming up to Mountain Straight. Briggs is staying squarely in the middle of the road, not allowing Edwards to have a look anywhere other than the right-hand side here. So we'll see what happens as they come over the rise up to Griffin's. Dance in the background, just shoving his way up the inside of Winkleman. Oh, nearly making contact, those guys. So we got two incredible battles here happening just on the verge of the top 10.
Yeah, it's great to see, isn't it? We predicted this before the race, that we'd have some great battling, and this is turning into a 4-car battle pack very, very quickly as Winkleman and Dance. And we've just heard that something's happened to Gallen. He's actually back down with Thomas McMillan, which has put him back down in 6th place. So, doesn't look like he has any damage to his car there, but he's certainly fallen back. He's fallen back 4 places there.
It happened at Griffin's. Looks like... There seems like a fairly textbook pass there from John Peasnick, but Gallen just turned in and ended up getting hit into the outside wall. I'm unsure if that was Peasnick's fault. Didn't look like it. Looks like he was well up alongside.
Yeah, just letting my iRacing buffer now to see exactly what's happened there. It's been a little bit slow on me, but we're nearly back there. I see what you mean. They were pretty close coming in there, but like you said, fairly textbook. It looks like, yeah, Gallen may have just turned in there a little bit too much, and that may have been the end of that battle, unfortunately. Have a look from this chase view here. There was actually a bit of netcode there. There's a bit of a gap between the cars there where they've hit.
That is a real shame. You never want a battle to be decided by netcode, and I know from observing Gallen in the past, his netcode has never been quite the best, so that's a real shame for him.
Yeah, it is. Like you said, it's never good to see a battle decided by netcode, and we see it a lot in the international series. In this series, obviously being mainly Australia and New Zealand, we don't get too much of it, but like you said, Gallen not being... Gallen having that netcode means that sometimes an incident like that can happen, and they were still a little bit apart, but yeah, he went round. Good thing is, he's still in it. He's only, I think, about 7 seconds off the lead at the moment, and I'm sure he'll be fighting hard to chase them back down.
Oh yeah, he certainly will. Louis Gallon is one hell of a steerer. But having a look at this battle from 8th place back, the train is continuing to form. Edwards had a little bit of a problem out of the cutting and is now under pressure from Winkleman once again. Have a look at the Audi versus the Ferrari over the top here. Looks to me like you can tell that Edwards is struggling for grip slightly over the top, as just, riding the curb out of McPhillamy Park. Meanwhile, Winkleman's just keeping it nice and smooth. He's got that downforce in the Audi. Of course, he's got a little bit of an issue, has Winkleman, because not only does he have to focus on trying to pass Edwards, he also has to focus on not getting passed by Cameron Dance. And from observing these guys, you can tell all of them want to crack at that 8th position that Adam Briggs currently holds.
Yeah, you can say that again there. I think Briggs is safe up the road there, but Edwards is a bit in trouble here with Dance and Winkleman bearing down from behind him. And if he's struggling across the top of the mountain, these Audis with their downforce, they are going to fire straight in there and try and get the run down Conrod and into the chase. So he's either got to try to sort out the issues that he's having across the top of the mountain, or otherwise it may be tough to try and hold these guys off for another half an hour. We'll see what happens though. Hitting the curb at McPhillamy like he did last lap is a bit of a no-no in these cars. It can certainly bump them up and shoot them into the wall. So hopefully it was just a one-lap thing and now he can get on with it. But Dance is pretty close to Winkleman here. He's closed up a bit into that first turn. He was right on behind him. So we could in the next lap or two see a move on between Dance and Winkleman. And that's that problem that you mentioned, Reese, which is Winkleman wants to go for that position, but he's got to worry about defending from Dance. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we certainly will. It was kind of bizarre. It looked to me like Winkleman slowed up a little bit too much in turn 1. Maybe he was doing the old slow and fast out thing to try and get the run up Mountain Straight. Of course, if that is the case, then it hasn't really done much for him. So I doubt that is indeed the case. They come up over the top once again for the 6th time in this race, and tell you what, Winkleman's gapped Dance a little bit in these last couple of corners. Let's see how Edwards goes here. Runs a tiny bit wide for McPhillamy again, over the curb once again. So Edwards struggling a bit with the front of that Ferrari, it seems. Meanwhile, Winkleman, once again, in this section of the track, he seems to be right on the back of Edwards, but watch for when they come to the straight. We'll see what happens once they get out of Forest Elbow. Edwards just glancing off the wall almost, coming out of the elbow, and Winkleman is now in the draft. Has he got a run? Has he got a run?
Yeah, Winkleman tried to alter his line just a little bit there to try and get the best run out of the elbow, but it looks like that Ferrari might just have a little bit more top-end speed on the Audi, even with the draft. He was pulling him in a little bit, but not anywhere near enough. He's going to have to be right on his rear bumper to even think about going for a pass into the chase. In saying that, he's just gotten a great run through the chase. So we'll see how these next couple of corners pan out. Dance has fallen back a little bit, so Winkleman can put his focus onto Edwards in front of him. And right now, he probably wouldn't be able to see too much with that Ferrari's bumper right in his way. And I'm sure he wants to try and get rid of that as quickly as possible and onto the next guy up ahead of him. But we'll see what happens coming down Mountain Straight here. That same draft is going to come into effect, but I don't know how well it's working. He is pulling him in just a little bit here. And I reckon he's going to pull out of this one. I'll have a look further up the field.
Well, Leighton Fine and Trent Thomas just had a bit of a moment there into Griffin's Bend. That's Leighton Fine through into 12th place. Trent Thomas, though, really pushing the back of him. But sorry, Brock, as we were saying, further up in the field, the battle for third really heating up here as we see Gary Hamilton starting to become the cork in the bottle, so to speak.
Yeah, so Hamilton's up in third here, and he's got Usul, hopefully I've pronounced that correctly, and Rizzo right up behind him here. So this is getting quite interesting, and you've got Gallen and McMillan are also coming up on this battle pack. So right now it's a three-man battle for third, but this could soon become a 5-man battle. McMillan has done well to stick with Gallen. As we know, Gallen is faster than this Mercedes, so be interesting to see how these guys can try and make it up to the back of this pack up here. May even work together. We have seen this sort of thing before, so it'll be interesting to see. But Hamilton he's in the clear at the moment, but Usul has Rizzo a bit closer behind him.
Yes, indeed he does. Now, as they come into the chase once again, you're not going to see much in the way of different advantages and disadvantages among this little section of the field. They are all Mercedes, but Gary Hamilton taking a little bit of a wider entry into Murray's corner, and you can see that translates into a bit of a better exit. So Edwards and Winkleman, though. Winkleman goes into the pits. The pit window is open for the fuel stop, so that's a very early pit from Anthony Winkleman.
I think what's going through his mind is he's going to try and do the smart play, fuel up, get out of the pack, and try and undercut those guys by using the speed that I'm thinking he knows he has. Because being in that battle pack isn't doing him any favours if he wants to try past those guys. We were talking about how hard it is to pass at the mountain, and especially if he's got a speed deficit of any sort against the Ferrari, it means that some of those key overtaking zones are nullified because it means he can't actually get the car down the inside. So potentially a smart play from Winkleman. If he can get those good, consistent laps in, he may well be able to jump a couple of guys in the process.
Yes, well, having a look at him just come out of the pits, looks like he has indeed come out in clean air. So this is a good opportunity here for Winkleman to set down some fast lap times. And, have a look behind him. Troy Maguire versus Thomas Hinz coming into the cutting. That was a bit close for comfort, I think. Jacob Schooley is stopped. Big crash, we're hearing. So what on earth has gone on here? Oh, wow, yeah. Schooley with a mammoth spin over the top of the mount.
No, I think that started at Reed and Sulman there, Reese, and it's just it's gotten worse from there, unfortunately. Just having a look at his chase cam to see the car. Yep, he's hit the curb just a little bit coming into the entry to Reed and Sulman, and it's gotten him unsettled as he comes to the second part and just spun it around, unfortunately. So yeah, the mountain bites yet again to take another victim.
Yes, indeed. Well, having a look at Cam Dance once again, checking back in on this battle. With no Anthony Winkleman between them, these two guys have really closed up. Craig Edwards in the Ferrari, Cameron Dance in the Audi. So I get the feeling that Cam might be facing some of the same problems that Winkleman was facing. He knows that he has a little bit of a cornering advantage over the Ferrari, but he's just not able to get it done so far. I think the best option for Dance right now... Oh, hold on a minute. He is getting a bit of a run as they come over the hill. He's going to pull out and try and go for a move here at Griffin's Bend. Is Edwards going to try and defend? He's going to try and hold it around the outside, but of course, as we know from many races here, Griffin's Bend, not exactly the corner to hold it around the outside. So that is Cam Dance through to 9th place.
Yeah, well done by Dance there. He bided his time and potentially a different setup to what Winkleman has on, so maybe slightly less downforce has meant he's gotten a better run there on Edwards. Or a not so great exit by Edwards out of that first turn, but he's gotten it done, and now we'll see if he pulls ahead a little bit and try and chase down Briggs ahead of him.
Yes, indeed, and you can already see Cam is pulling away from Craig a little bit here. I noticed Craig overshot slightly over the top of the mountain, but he is still holding on to the back of Cam here as they come down the hill. Be interesting to see if, now that Craig has been passed, he decides to take to the pits.
Yeah, he may well. He hasn't got a lot to defend for now, so it may well be good to get out in some clean air, potentially have a quick reset, have a look and make sure all the settings are the way he wants them, get back out there and try go hard at it again. The Ferrari, it's gotten stronger since the BOP is what I've heard. But still lacking a little bit compared to the Audi and the Mercedes comparatively in a single lap.
Incident with Tyler Blackburn at the top of the mountain.
That's a big one.
Me. Oh, yeah. Wow, that is very bad. He's, how many points has that turn be? Goodness me, that's almost exactly the kind of incident that took Kelvin van der Linde out of the real 12-hour. Except with van der Linde, it was just straight up running wide. But Blackburn had to do a few points there to get that car going again. So he is the next person out of this race.
Yeah, so the mountain bites yet again, and as I said before, takes another victim.
Reese Gasol versus Ross Rizzo here, coming into the cutting. These guys have been dicing with each other a little bit over the last half a lap. I was going to draw our attention to the battle around about the time that Blackburn had his incident, but yeah, it looks like Gasol is getting a little bit unsettled here. He's run those walls very tight as they come over the top of the mountain.
And he's collected a bit of curb there too. Sorry, Reese. He's just collected a bit of curb at McPhillamy. So his car's a bit loose and wide at the moment, and I reckon having the reigning champion right up behind him is maybe playing with his nerves a little bit, or maybe the car is just starting to get a little bit unruly underneath him.
Yes, indeed. Coming over the top of the mountain, it looked very leery indeed. Well, Hamilton has managed to pull out a gap on these guys. Meanwhile, it looks like Gallon and McMillan have started closing in. Meanwhile, you've got Adam Briggs just lurking in the background there in another Mercedes. So once these guys start pitting, this stands to get very mixed up. As they come into the chase once again, looks a lot cleaner than it did when I viewed it on the last lap. Do any of these guys go into the pits? Not this time.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see, and once these pit stop happens, it's hard to predict the outcome of this race because some people are short fill to try and get the advantage and then save fuel, and that's the beauty of having a pit stop in this race. It means that you still have to plan around your pit stop and plan around your strategy. So these guys, they've spread out a little bit now for that battle for third, but across the top of the mountain, we'll see how we go. As we said, Gasol was a little bit loose and the car was a little bit unruly beneath him. So it'll be interesting to see how he goes on this lap. Maybe collected his thoughts and can have another go at it and try push harder. He was fast in practice and hasn't really let Hamilton get too far away. So they're all keeping each other honest at the moment, Reece.
Yes, indeed they are. And I just want to draw your attention to another battle. Michael Hammond versus Trent Thomas. These guys have been very close in the last couple of corners. Hammond, I think, passed Thomas in the last couple of laps. And behind them, Michael Healy. Now, Healy and Thomas will be very familiar with each other after Daytona. So they get to go for round 2 here. As wow, Trent almost made a move on Hammond at Griffins earlier on in the lap, but backed out of it. And you can see that Hammond seems a lot more confident across the top this time around.
Yeah, and when you're coming across the top of the mountain, that's what it comes to sometimes. It's just the confidence to push the car that little bit harder. Like you said, ding ding, round 2. Healy and Thomas are together again after that incident at Daytona. So hopefully it all turns out a bit cleaner than that time, and they can keep it all together. But this is turning out to have quite a few nice battle packs through this race here, Reese. They're all pushing hard, but the lack of overtaking opportunities across the top of the mountain is keeping them close together and meaning that nobody's running away, except, of course, our race leader, Damien McPhee, who is still extending his gap on John Peasnick. At the end of the last lap, it was 4.7 seconds.
Yes, indeed. McPhee absolutely stamping out fast lap after fast lap here. Peasnick as well. He's these two guys are just doing everything they need to make a gap on the rest of the field. But I do agree with the point you make there, Brock, as Trent Thomas goes into the pits. So it looks like he is the first of the Mercedes to blink. But your comment about the cleanliness of this race, oh no, Shannon Mason in turn 1. Well, there have been single car incidents aplenty in this race, but we haven't seen any with multiple cars. We haven't seen any with people taking each other out, which is really good to see, especially around this track.
Yeah, usually what you see is either other people become the victim of someone else's mistake, or there's overtaking maneuvers that don't go well. So, like you said, it's good to see that obviously there's been no group accidents, and of course it's never good to see drivers making mistakes and hitting walls and that sort of thing, but the quality of racing here tonight is mega. And the way these guys are staying so close together but not taking each other out is seriously awesome to see, and it's awesome to commentate on as well.
Yeah, it certainly is. Shannon Mason has retired from the race after that crash. Looks like he just overshot his braking zone into turn 1 and just went straight into the outside wall. So a bit of a shame to see his race end in that way. But yeah, we have still got an excellent race going on here. As we're coming up to, I believe, 22 minutes elapsed or thereabouts. 21 minutes to go, we're hearing, so
yeah, this race has already gone by very quickly. We're just about 25 minutes, over 25 minutes now into this race. So pit stops will be starting to come thick and fast, I think. And I've just noticed as well, McMillan has actually dropped off back to Briggs and right off the back of Gallen as McMillan actually pits now and comes in to take the fuel drop that he needs. And he's got damage on the front of that car as well.
Yeah, so maybe there was a bit of an incident on Conrod. I'm going to rewind and take a bit of a look here.
Yeah, potentially maybe misjudging the kink there and giving Gallen a little bump. I'll have a squeeze at the back of Gallen's car.
No, it looks like doesn't look like anything particularly drastic happened. All I saw was McMillan glancing off the wall at Reed Park. So I don't know. Maybe that's just him losing pace and deciding to take his pit stop now to save a bit of time.
Yeah, very possibly. And he's come out again in a little bit of a in the thick of it in 18th there, so he's got a few guys in front of him and behind him as well to deal with, but he's got a good bit of speed tonight, so hopefully when all the pit stops ring out, he'll be back in that top 10 position. He's managed to and he's not far from Winkleman at the moment either, so considering how early Winkleman took his pit stop and considering where they were, Winkleman he's got a good bit of speed under him at the moment, so he's just pushing hard. He's still got some clear air out in front of him. So we'll see where these two end up with their slightly earlier pit stops compared to their rivals around them.
Indeed we shall. Yeah, it is quite interesting to see that McMillan and Winkleman are as close as they are. I would have expected them to be a little bit further apart, but yeah, you can tell that taking that early pit stop has really paid dividends for Winkleman here.
Yeah, well, he seems to have gotten pretty lucky in the air that he's gotten, basically. We'll have a look at his laps. He's been doing fairly consistent low 201s since he came out of the pit lane. So compared to high 201s and 202s when he was stuck in traffic. So he's gained tenths a lap by being, multiple tenths a lap by being out in clean air instead of stuck behind traffic.
Yes, indeed. So good move from Winkleman. I just want to check back in on the battle for fourth back. Rhys Gasol, Ross Rizzo, and Luis Paulo Gallon look like they've formed their own little pack here behind Gary Hamilton. You can see that Gallon has actually closed up a fair bit to Ross Rizzo here.
Yeah, well, he's actually within about half a second now of Ross Rizzo, so definitely within drafting distance. And very much in contention for third place now. Gasol hasn't been able to get it quite done on Hamilton, but Gallon, I'm sure, has a fiery passion lit underneath him to absolutely go hard or go home because of what happened at turn 2, unfortunately. So we'll see how he goes. He is close. I think he's dropped off just a little bit from these guys coming across the mountain here, so maybe just a little bit wobbly, but definitely good to see him come back up again, and I think we're in for a ripper battle in these last 15 and a half minutes of the race.
Yes, indeed. Tell you what, shout out to Gary Hamilton, I guess, for managing to keep his cool and stay ahead of all the chaos that's been happening behind him and this battle pack that he heads. He's held very nicely third place as we're hearing a replay. McMillan and Skin got together, so we're going to have another look at that at the cutting. See what goes on there. Looks like yeah,
that's just
Skin,
unfortunate.
Yeah, looks like Skin just had a bit of a slide, and McMillan was already committed to braking, so there wasn't really anything he could do.
Yeah, so unfortunately there, just racing incident, like you said, a bit of a slide. There's not really anywhere to go out of the cutting, and McMillan's just given him a little tap, which has definitely damaged the front of the car a bit there, but hopefully I think he's also clipped the wall coming into the S's by the looks of it. Maybe net code, I'm not sure, but hopefully the car doesn't overheat or anything, and he can keep on going because he was doing pretty well up until this point.
Indeed he was. Well, just keeping my eye on third place, Gary Hamilton. Rhys Gasol, he's shown some fantastic pace in qualifying. Looks like he's showing hints of being able to get past Hamilton here for third, but he seems to lack consistency just slightly. Like he's been very consistent being able to stay in that position, but he's just making the tiniest mistakes that prevent him from going that extra mile to try and pass Hamilton. Have a look at the amount he fell back there over the top. Looks like Hamilton has just got that car hooked up a little bit more.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Hamilton's he's just smooth. He's taking it, I guess, taking it easy. Even if you're comfy across the top of the mountain, you should be nice and loose in your simulator and not too tense. If you're tense, it means if your car jumps out on you, you're going to make a sudden reaction. So yeah, he's actually pulled out fairly large gap there. And Gallon, he's ever creeping in on from behind Rizzo, and this is still a great battle pack for 4th, 5th, and 6th with Hamilton keeping himself safe for the time being. Like you said, across the top of the mountain, he's just making sure, biding his time, hoping to keep that podium position and pick up some good points for the night.
Meanwhile, Adam Briggs and Cam Dance, that's a pass at the chase there. Cam manages to hold on to that, so looked like a fairly textbook outbraking maneuver from Mr. Dance going into the chase.
Yeah, that just looked like you said, your textbook move into the chase. Hit the brakes harder than the other guy and hope that you don't run out on the other side. So Dance is on the move at the moment as Healy has come into the pit lane as well. It'd be interesting to see when Dance actually does bring it into the pit lane. So he's now gotten out from behind some of this traffic, and that'll give him a chance to go and chase down the likes of Gallon and Rizzo ahead of him should his car have the speed.
Yes, indeed. I'm interested to see how that turns out. Adam Briggs, meanwhile, having just been passed by Cam Dance, looks like he's not letting him go just yet. See what happens when they get over the top here, though, because Craig Edwards is the next car behind Briggs. And of course, he seems to have fallen back ever further from Cameron Dance in these last few laps. So, having a look through McPhillamy, wow, you can see the gap there between the Ferrari and the Merc increasing. Meanwhile, Michael Healy, with the very efficient pit stop, managed to come out ahead of Michael Hammond and Trent Thomas.
So there you go. That just shows strategy there, and I'll have a quick squiz and see on my timing. His pit stop was 28 seconds, so that's a bit faster than some of the other guys. A few of the others have had up to 29 or 30 second pit stops there. So whether he's under fueled or whether it's just been a very clean pit stop, I guess we'll find out in the next sort of 10 minutes or so.
Yes, indeed. Well, I know that Trans-Tasman Racing are no strangers to underfueling their cars. Madison Down has done it more than once in V8 Scops, so maybe Michael Healy has taken a leaf out of that book. We'll see what happens. Trent Thomas and Michael Hammond still remain locked together, though. Meanwhile, Anthony Winkleman just going past Dean Ross into the chase. Looked like Ross was going slow.
Yeah, maybe just letting Winkleman by there. Winkleman's giving himself ever more clean air there. So Winkleman's sitting in 16th at the moment. That will be 15th now coming up past this lap, I believe. Nope, 14th. There you go. So he's jumped Healy as well as Trent Thomas and Hammond. So he's on a warpath at the moment. We'll see how he goes. He's gotten a bit slower. He's doing in the 201, high 201s now instead of the low 201s. So maybe he's hit a bit of traffic in the last couple of laps.
Yeah, that is interesting. Well, we'll keep tabs on Winkleman, see his climb back through the field as others pit. The Hamilton-Gasol-Rizzo Gallon battle, though, they have not changed. They've not changed position at all. I get the feeling that all of these guys are just biding their time at the moment. Maybe taking the opportunity to save a bit of fuel down the straight behind Hamilton. Yeah,
I think so. He's certainly taking it a bit easier. Gasol is there, probably still getting a little bit of a draft. Rizzo's probably getting that draft as well, and Gallon as well. They're actually fairly equidistant from each other at the moment on this straight. So, like you said, saving a bit of fuel, playing the strategy again, always exciting to see when strategy comes into it. And we've seen Winkelhock playing that strategy card as well. Sorry, Winkleman, I'm getting my real life and iRacing drivers mixed up in my head. I've been watching too much racing recently.
Both driving
as
Audis.
We've got Hamilton. Yeah, Hamilton is actually into the pit lane now. And so is McPhee. The race leader has also come into pit lane this lap.
Indeed, and while that's going on, I've noticed that Michael Healy has passed Thomas McMillan, whose Mercedes is looking a bit sick, and Trent Thomas and Michael Hammond are now bearing down on him coming down Cornwall Straight, so this might get dramatic very soon, but for now, we'll focus on these pit stops. So, McPhee, your race leader, we'll see how he goes. Oh no, Trent Thomas! Trent Thomas has had a bit of a mistake coming out of the chase. He's managed to keep it together. Michael Hammond going for the move here on Thomas McMillan, or at least trying to get him crossed up, and he succeeded in that. Michael Hammond now has the run coming out of Murray's corner. McMillan tries to stay in the middle of the road, but Hammond is already well past. Into turn one they go, and that looks to be that settled for now, but Trent Thomas will not be happy with his driving at the moment, and he'll be looking to get himself back up there behind McMillan and Hammond as soon as possible.
Yeah, definitely right there, Reese. I think McMillan will be a little bit annoyed with himself about that one, but with the damage he's got to his car, I think he'll probably be seeing a little bit, being a little bit down on top end speed and also a little bit down on downforce coming across the top of the mountain here. So he's sticking with Hammond for the time being, but it'll be interesting to see how that goes across the top of the mountain here. Like you said, Thomas, he's not too far behind, about 3 seconds at the line, so he'll be pushing hard to try and make up for that little mistake there. Didn't put it in the wall though, which is the main thing, so the car's still in good nick and everything. He's just got to get it all back straight again and keep on going.
Yes, indeed. And John Peacenik is coming into the pits as we speak. So he's really pushing it there on pit entry. As Brad Watson goes back by him. Ross Rizzo has stayed out of the pits, so he seems to be the one out of this pack who is going the furthest.
Yeah, so maybe you were right there when you said he'd save just a little bit of fuel behind those guys instead of passing them. He's now being able to push it. So we'll see what sort of laps he can do before he brings it in. I dare say we'll see him in this lap or the next. I can't imagine he'll be running on much more than a lap or a little bit more than a lap of fuel. So, but he's still looking clean. He's keeping his lines clean. As Reese Gasoul's just come out of pit lane.
Gary Hamilton, he's dropped behind these guys, and Gallon has dropped as well. So I think Reese Gasoul has come out the best out of these guys. Not only has he managed to jump Hamilton, but Hamilton is now pressured by Gallon, as I think we just saw Adam Briggs getting passed by Cam Dance and Anthony Winkleman. So Winkleman now really up here in the field. And he's going to be putting some pressure on Dance. Has Dance pitted? No, he hasn't. Has he? Oh, goodness me! I keep looking for a big difference in lap times, but it looks like
no tyres for this event.
Yeah, of course.
I think anyway.
Yeah.
We're waiting on Ross Rizzo. Coming. Got Craig Edwards off the track at the moment. Just had a little excursion off of McPhillamy there. But back on the track, no damage done, so he's lucky to survive that one. Going off there in the GT3 car can sometimes be deadly.
Yes, indeed. Adam Briggs may be having a problem here. He's going very slowly.
Yeah, very, very slowly. Potentially a hardware problem, or has Briggs pitted? He pitted, didn't he?
Yep.
Yeah,
This is outlap.
There we go. Looks like he's getting
underfueled it. Oh no.
That's a shame.
Or maybe he forgot to take fuel.
And we've just got Rizzo on pit lane as well now.
That is very bizarre. We'll see if Briggs pulls into the pits at the end of this one. That's very bizarre.
Okay, Rizzo has just popped out of pit lane in 4th place. That has promoted Reese Gasoul up into 3rd place, jumping Hamilton as well. And it looks like we've just heard that Briggs is definitely out of fuel, so he's underfueled that car for the run to the finish, unfortunately, Reese.
Oh, wow. How would you be in his position? He was running extremely well, was Briggs. So to have that all come down to underfueling your car, that must be heartbreaking.
Yeah, it's unfortunately that's the problem with these races. Is it's very hard to judge exactly how much fuel you need, especially if you've been in a draft for part of the race. Your fuel numbers get swayed a little bit, so unfortunate to see. But there's always a learning to take from these things. And I'm just having a squiz at Winkleman at the moment, who's coming up on the back of the Hamilton-Gallon dance battle, and trying to make his way up even further. He's made up 3 positions already at the moment on his starting position, so he's going to be pushing hard in these last 3 minutes really of this race. We've only really got a couple of laps left.
Yeah, Winkleman's got his work cut out for him here, for sure. I'm also having Thomas McMillan's just had another issue coming down through the S as he's glanced off the wall again. And he's been facing some pressure from Trent Thomas these last couple of laps. Oh man, I just swapped to McMillan as he hit the wall. So that's more damage to McMillan's Mercedes. And who knows, Trent Thomas might get by him in very short order here.
Yeah, that was a scary moment for him. I'm honestly surprised that didn't end up in the wall. He did well to control that down the bumps of the S's, and yeah, Thomas is going to fly by him, I reckon, with that lack of straight line speed, and Thomas is by. So, yeah, it's just probably struggling with a bit of a broken car at the moment, and he's gotten a good run out of the chase. He's trying to fight back and take back that position, but I think it'll be. Oh, he's just had a swerve there as well. Oh, he's hit Thomas.
In contact.
Oh,
no,
that was close.
Oh, careful, guys.
Come on, we've only got a few minutes left. We can make it to the end.
Unsure of what McMillan was doing there. It looked like he swerved a bit in the braking zone before getting on the brakes and just clipped the grass. I'm unsure what was going on there.
Yeah, I think it may well have been just a potential braking issue. Like you said, he got on the grass there as he applied the brakes and then took them off and tried again, sort of thing. And yeah, just sort of bumped Thomas. At least it didn't end up in anything more sinister than that.
Yes, indeed. Leighton Fine versus Michael Healy, though, up ahead. Looks like, well, as McMillan is out, he's upside down. What on earth has happened to Thomas McMillan? Turn 2. Wow.
He's gotten on the grass and just slid it straight into the wall at turn 2. So that's unfortunate to see. He was running well, but unfortunately it looks like not his night in that All-Star Motorsports 248 AMG Mercedes GT3 car.
Yeah, certainly not. Bit of a shame, but the show is still going on out there on the track. We've only got less than a minute, I think, left in this race. So, looks to me maybe 2 more laps. Damien McPhee is about to cross the line to start lap 22. So 2 laps to go here. So McPhee and Peasnick up the front there. No dramas whatsoever. Reece Gasul and Ross Rizzo have really profited from this. Oh, have a look. Cameron Dance and Lewis Gallon side by side. Gallon squeezing Dance just a little bit, giving him just enough room, but no more. Coming into Murray's, and Dance is going to have to figure out another way to get past Gallon other than there. Winkleman lurking in the background. I'm surprised he's not getting all up in this battle.
Yeah, maybe he's seeing something could go wrong there. The boys, they've got only a lap or 2 to get this done. And yeah, they're trying hard. Gallon's gone defensive as Dance is going to try around the outside, but Gallon's pulled back in again there. So they're going to stay line astern for the time being. Probably taking a little bit of the pressure off Hamilton at the moment for trying to hold off these guys, because battling will slow them both down a little bit. So we'll see how this ends up. But yeah, they're fighting hard. They've got a lap and a half to go here, and I think we're going to see some real fighting for sweepstakes.
Oh yeah, for sure. The last lap at Bathurst is always a dramatic one, unless you're way off in the lead, like McPhee and Peasnick are. Oh, Gallon's hit the wall. He hit the wall just coming up to McPhillamy, sorry. We're hearing that Joshua Skin had a bit of an issue, but looks like he's hit the pit wall in the final corner. Shame for Joshua Skin, but Gallon's in trouble. Gallon is really in trouble now. That little bit of a nick to his car, just hitting the wall out of Sulman. This is going to bring the 2 Audis into contention behind him for 6th place.
Yeah, Winkleman's there. He's there or thereabouts. Dance is right up behind a Gallon. Oh, this is going to get
Gallon goes defensive. Oh,
yeah.
Have a look at how late Gallon is on the brakes. Just manages to pull it up barely. Dance and Winkleman. Winkleman had a little bit of an oversteer moment, so he's lost a bit of ground. And it's the same thing as last lap as they go on to the final lap here. Gallon and Dance. This is going to be one of the battles to watch in the top 10. So, this is the final lap of the race here. Oh, have a look at how close Dance is getting to Gallon.
Dance is going to want this position. He's fought hard all race. He has absolutely cut his way through the pack, and I bet you there's going to be a lot of steam pouring out of that helmet, but he's right alongside. as another trick sim sport. That was very close there as they're coming up the straight there, as that Audi tried to get out of the way, but going too wide was never going to be close there.
This is open dance to Winkleman here. Round the outside of the cutting. Can they do it? Oh,
no.
Look at this. Winkleman, a little bit of a slide, and he almost had 7th position there, but unfortunately, he's forced to wait until another possible error by either Dance or Gallon. Damien McPhee, meanwhile, up ahead, completely untroubled as he comes onto the straight. What a drive from car number 17.
Shout out to him, though. All of his race laps, except lap 1 being the race start, have been in the 2s. No lap has been a 2:01. Except for his pit lap and his first lap, all in the 2s and mid to high 2s all race. That is some absolute mega pace he's brought to the track tonight in this McLaren. And we've seen all night he hasn't been bothered one bit by anybody behind him. So a mega race by Damien.
Yep, certainly. Well, Damien McPhee is going down the hill to Murray's now. On the brakes, turn left one more time, on the throttle, and McPhee takes an absolutely dominant victory in round 2 of the Oceanic Sprint Championship. Oh, have a look there at, Dance and Gallon. They almost went into the back of each other, but Ross Rizzo is going to finish in 4th place just behind Reece Gasoul.
Very close between Gallon and Dance here. I think they've made a bit of contact there.
Yeah.
Oh, that was very, very close coming into that last corner.
Winkleman
tried to take advantage of it there. So, great battling into the very, very dying stages of the races there and to a very last corner.
Oh, Trent Thomas, we got a problem.
Between Hammond and Thomas, potentially, but both of them turned around there. Looks
like it. Looks to me as though Hammond just went for that. I don't see any universe in which that move was going to work on Hammond's part. Ooh, hang on, we're going to go back to the chase, take a look at the replay here. So it looks like Hammond was just going all out on the brakes there. Healy was already sliding at the point that Hammond hit him.
Just sort of served him up and said, see you later. Helped him around a little bit there, and then we've got coming down into that last corner. Trent Thomas makes it around, and then, Hammond sort of just absolutely drills him into the last turn there. So, bit unfortunate.
Well, at the very least, credit to Hammond. He waited for Thomas to get going again.
Yeah, that's very true. It was a bit unfortunate with what happened with Healy there. I think it was just bad timing for Hammond to come on the scene. It looked like Healy was already sort of spinning it. So, yeah.
Oh, well, that's that. We're going to have the results up on screen here. Damien McPhee and John Piesnik started where they ended up finishing 1st and 2nd. Absolutely dominant by the McLarens. Reece Gasoul takes 3rd. Excellent stuff from him. Ross Rizzo in 4th. Gary Hamilton loses out in the end, but he finishes where he started. Luis Paulo Gallon, bit of a controversial move with Cameron Dance into the final turn. Bit of a squeeze, but those guys finished 6th and 7th. 8th, Anthony Winkleman. Craig Edwards finishes in 9th place, and Daniel Benefield makes his way up from 22nd to finish in 10th.
Great result there by Daniel, making up 12 spots. And in 11th place, we've got Trent Thomas, so even after being spun, he still came home in 11th. Michael Hammond in 12th, and Michael Healy in 13th place there. Corey J. Ott made up 9 spots there, relatively quiet for the race. He didn't cause too much fuss and just sort of cut his way through the field there, so in 14th place. Liam Burns also making up 9 spots in 15th. Dean Ross making up 13 spots into 16th tonight. Troy Maguire down in 17th. We've got Griffin Gardner 18th. Wayne G. Hewitt in 19th, and Leighton Fine in 20th.
Thomas Hins, the few times that we saw him on the broadcast, he was getting involved in some battles. Ended up in 21st place. 22nd, Benjamin Smith. Adam Briggs in 23rd. And our pretty long list of retirements, but fortunately no big incidents causing those retirements between cars. It was mostly on their own. Jacob Schooley, Brad Watson, Joshua Skin, Thomas McMillan, Philip Worley, Tyler Blackburn, Shannon Mason. And I think Schooley and Watson just finished a lap down. So Skin was the highest classified out of all your retirees there. But wow, what a race, round 2 of OSC.
Yeah, the drivers certainly put it on for us. There was battle packs for the whole race, and yeah, took it right to the very end. First and second place in Damien McPhee and John Peasnick ran away with it. Pardon me, but they certainly showed the pace in those McLarens. But through the rest of the field, I couldn't have told you who was going to come third through about 15th place in this race. Reese, it was absolutely crazy.
Yeah, you're 100% right there, Brock. That battle from second back to, you know, basically the mid-teens was anyone's game, really. And full credit to Reece Gasol for coming out on top in third place there. I tell you what, the racing was incredibly close, a bit closer than I was expecting. I think we all came into this round expecting a bit more chaos than what we ended up seeing.
I think you're right there, Reese. The fact is that Bathurst is usually a crazy track, and we usually see incidents left, right, and centre from people throwing it up the inside where it's not meant to be thrown up the inside and whatnot. But this race was impressive, and great to see that the guys all knew where a proper overtaking spot was, and for the most part kept it clean, threw it down the inside where they could, and kept it behind when they should, basically. And we've just got a replay of Shannon Mason going across the top of the mountain. Apparently he's had an incident there sometime during the race.
On lap 8. I'm going to take a look at that as well. The broadcast will be seeing that at the moment at Skyline, but I'm going to go back and take a bit of a look myself. With Philip Worley. Let's have a bit of a look here. Of course, the broadcast will have already seen that. Oh my goodness, yes. Wow, that is insane. Looks to me like Philip Worley was just in the middle of the track, and he tried to get out of the way, but Mason was just barreling down through the S's. Very big smash. So that is a big part of the reason why Shannon Mason ended up on your list of retirees.
Yeah, that's unfortunate to see. Just watching it then, you sort of have a bit of an moment as you see that hit. Philip Worley was trying to do the right thing there and get out of the way, but unfortunately, once you're committed to the S's, there's not really anywhere to go. So you've got obviously the tyre barrier on your right, that clean away tyre barrier, and then he had a car on his right in front of him to his left, so he didn't really have much option in that. So unfortunate to see, but a mega crash. So good to bring that up on the broadcast and show the viewers.
Yes, indeed. So obviously a ton of stuff happening that we likely missed on the broadcast in the Oceanic Sprint Championship, but that just goes to show the quality of these events that are put on Wednesday nights here at V8's Online. So thank you very much for joining me, Brock. It was fun having you in the box.
An absolute pleasure, and hopefully I can come back again and do it all over again with you, Reese, with a different track in the next week or two. So it'd be good to come back again.
Yes, indeed. And we thank you, the viewers, for joining us here on this broadcast. Be sure to subscribe to V8's Online on YouTube, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and go to www.v8sonline.com for all the latest news from the Australian and New Zealand iRacing community. You've been watching round 2 of the Oceanic Sprint Championship from the Mount Panorama Circuit. Your race winner, Damien McPhee. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next time.